A plan by Ports of Auckland to expand and invest in its current CBD waterfront site has been dismissed as cynical and disrespectful. The Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, is also cool on the idea, which does include a 1-hectare rooftop park, a hotel and a wharf extension. Now, the Mayor and Government want to move the council-owned port, but the company says it must still invest during the decades ahead of any relocation. Our Auckland correspondent, Todd Nile, reports.
Ports of Auckland went back to the drawing board after public protests and a legal challenge scuttled a previous reclamation plan 2 years ago. The Chief Executive, Tony Gibson, pictures the new master plan as reflecting a new reality.
The council has said and indicated to us that the port will move. That's a big call, it's a big plan, and it could potentially take up to 30 years. We still have to cope with freight demand. Auckland is growing, so that's key for us. So we've developed this 30-year master plan, which essentially gives the council time to design and build a new port somewhere else.
Ngāti Whātua Ōraki's Ngarimu Blair has a different view of the plan to extend Bledisloe Wharf, erect a parking building for thousands of imported vehicles, along with a new head office.
We think it's a pretty cynical move in that the investments that they're looking to make signal really that they're there for the long term. The Mayor campaigned on moving the port. The new government also campaigned on moving the port. And it's a bit of a finger to them, I guess, to make these kinds of announcements, which really signal they're there for the long term and aren't really interested in moving.
Stop Stealing Our Harbour is a protest group formed to successfully lead opposition to the earlier, larger and now discarded expansion plan. Its founder, Michael Goldwater, is sceptical of Ports of Auckland's latest plan.
It seems their strategy seems to be to invest as much money into infrastructure in the port so they can stay there for the longest time. What we should be doing is actually thinking about moving the port and working out ways of investing money to make the transition from an industrial waterfront to a waterfront that we can be proud of.
Moving the port is a possibility which started to be explored by Auckland's council, but has now been taken over by the government, which will frame it as a study of the Upper North Island's 3 major ports.
I just wanted to say it's been an excellent, productive first official meeting, of course.
Coincidentally, the Mayor, Phil Goff, who campaigned on moving the port, had his first formal meeting with the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, just hours after the plans went public. Ms Ardern's only comment to media on the port left plenty of room for manoeuvre.
We'll both have views on the port generally and those proposals. What I'm happy to say is that I have always opposed port expansion at its current site.
Whether the 13-metre wharf extension and the removal of Marsden Wharf counts as expansion isn't clear. Mr Goff similarly remains uncommitted, holding open the possibility that public feedback and the port company's case might prove persuasive. He says the government's study should lead the way.
The port's plans need to tie in with what evidence shows should happen about the timing and the place of relocation of the port.
The problem there is that Ports of Auckland says it needs to seek a resource consent next year for the first big component of its master plan, the 5-level parking building capable of housing 2,600 vehicles as they roll off the ships. The company seeking public feedback via a special website, masterplan.poal.co.nz, outlining its plans. Mō te hōtaka o te ahiahi, ko Todd Nile tēnei.